Om Shanti. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to another Yoga Small Talk, and we continue with 7 minutes Bhagavad Gita a day. We are reading from chapter 6, the Yoga of Meditation, and we have reached this beautiful group of verses from 20 to 23. We read them all together, and I invited you to feel the devotion and the excitement of Swami Shivananda that comes through the translation. And I would like to read all of them again and to look at it from another beautiful perspective offered by Swami Swarupananda, my teacher. So let's read the verses again. It starts with verse 20. When the mind, restrained by the practice of yoga, attains to quietude, and when seeing the self by the self, he is satisfied in his own self. When he, the yogi, feels that infinite bliss which can be grasped by the pure intellect, and which transcends the senses and established wherein he never moves from the reality, which having obtained he thinks there is no other gain superior to it, wherein established he is not moved even by heavy sorrow. Let that be known by the name of yoga, the severance from the union with pain. This yoga should be practiced with determination and with an undesponding mind. So we said in the previous video, the previous study, that as we read those verses together, we really feel that Lord Krishna here, through the translation of Swami Shivananda, takes us up a mountain or lifts us up, like the energy is rising, the inspiration is rising. There is some excitement is there as we connect with the text and let it lift us up and give to us even the semblance, the imagination of what it feels like to be in this highly elevated state. And Swami Swarupananda uses another analogy for this process, which is also very beautiful and has to do with rising. He says that when one is able to practice samadhi, we no longer can go through the different practices as separate. Meaning, there is this practice of samyama, concentration, meditation, samadhi. They become one. And Swamiji described it like the process of boiling water. So the water is the mind, and the fire is a practice. Actually, practice in yoga is tapas. Tapas, literally fire. So as we do these practices, we light the fire. The fire is tapas. And what do we put on fire? Our mind. And our mind is like water. To begin with, it's regular water, liquid state, a little heavy, not rising anywhere. And then we start applying the fire. More and more and more and more, and you see already how important it is to keep the fire all the time. Because if we say, okay, the water is boiling, okay, I can take the fire off, the water will get cold again. We need to reach a state where the water have left the pot to make sure they do not come back there and again come to this state of liquidity, of heaviness, of all that we associate with this state of gross mind, which is, of course, we need to transcend the analogy also, but we are talking about a mind that is attached, that is identifying, which is not discerning properly, etc. And then we apply the fire of the practice over a long period of time and in a very focused manner. It has to be focused to the water, right under the pot there, so that the water will get all the heat. And the first thing that happens is that the water starts to bubble. So this is the inconvenience that we feel in the beginning of the practice. As the mind starts like bubbling, all sorts of stuff starts coming up and we don't understand where it's coming from. And some of us might feel even that the practice is not benefiting them. It's actually bringing out my worst things. And yes, it does bring out your worst things. So you will be able to look at them and transcend them. And this is why it's so important to have the support of a teacher, so that the teacher can take us through this very fragile and difficult state. And then slowly, slowly, the water will start becoming steam, meaning the mind will become more and more and more and more and more subtle. And when the water completely turns into steam, this is like the state of samadhi. The water are united. It's an analogy, don't take it too literally. But the water are as if united with the ether, the general space, and they transcend the name and form limitation. So this is the culmination of the practices. So it's, again, can be a very, very beautiful meditation. Of course, you should not be feeling that your body is on fire, but you can feel how your mind is becoming more and more subtle and more controlled and more focused and more subtle, until it can grasp subtle truths, subtle realities, subtle experiences, and take you, us, hopefully, to the highest knowledge. So this is another beautiful meditation that comes out of reading those verses. And we will start looking into the details of the verses in the next study. So please join us. Om Shanti.